I really don't understand two-factor authentication and the sort of logic of what's happening. It's kind of the similar logic of people adding, or cell phone manufacturers adding more cameras to their cell phones. It doesn't necessarily add a heck of a lot of value by having more steps, more difficulties that prevent you from doing something. I completely understand the security concerns with two-factor authentication and sort of pursuing alternatives. But what this does is it creates sort of this idea that if you simply just keep adding more, that it's going to prevent something or improve something in the future, right? And it's not necessarily always the case, right? So what's going to end up happening is that hackers are going to figure out a way to surpass the two-factor authentication, and then we'll end up having to have three-factor authentication, and then four-factor authentication. It'll just keep on going. And so I think where I'm coming from is think about behavior and the costs that are associated with this. If you were to add up the cost of two-factor authentication across many different individuals, that is a lot of wasted time and effort and frustration, all in the efforts of security, which is the noble. It matters. But then we have to think about all of the costs that are associated with it. And instead of going in that pursuit, it would be easier to think about how humans actually behave. And that is having things that are easy, that are frictionless, and that sort of operate in a seamless way. And the more that we sort of focus on that and come up with solutions that allow us to seamlessly operate, allow us to get things done quickly, we'll be able to have improved systems. So I think the goal, in my view, is to not have multi-factor authentication and think about ways to frustrate human beings. That's essentially all it is. It's frustrating, hackers, for example, preventing them from actually pursuing what they want with two-factor authentication. It's also frustrating for the user. Think about ways that we can develop that are just seamless, that are easy, allows us to be better humans. And so there definitely is a lot of room for improvement to think about how we're going to address that. And perhaps maybe the way that we address it is with something like cryptocurrency or something along those lines that have, that have a blockchain behind it. And that might be actually more useful and easier to actually use in the future. The problem is that technology is still not quite there yet. It's not in the public domain. It's still kind of difficult to actually use. So I think what we need to start thinking about is how do we start building some of these things, the next generation cryptography, I guess, into what we're actually doing, so it's not necessarily as frustrating in terms of an experience that we have. Because, the end result by adding more is just adding more. And yes, it's kind of like Alice in the Wonderland, where you're racing to keep up with the Red Queen. Everybody is looking around, racing to keep up with the Red Queen in terms of competition. But we also have to take a step back and say, how do we make this more easier? And so if there's somebody out there that has solutions rather than multi-factor authentication, I think you should actually pursue it. I think that this is an important part of the puzzle of how to make computers more easier in terms of, or the interface with computers more easier. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.